Yo, what is up? As you can see, I am literally on the top of this daycare. What are you going to do about it? That's right, absolutely nothing. Hey, hello there. Can you see me? My name is SubZeroExtabyte Jr. and today, you are going to take a look at the life of me, Sub. When I was just a baby, my life was very peaceful when I was young. I did not stress that often. I pretty much was a quiet dude back in the day. I was too young for school, so I could stay home every day and play with my teddy bears all day long. Those days were gold for me. My teddy bear was my best friend. His name was Bulgarius Wilhelm Rodriguez Ramirez Winston Arcadios Benny Armel Arthur Bernhard Osborne Bobby. I usually just called him Bob because most of my friends back in the day would confuse Bulgarius Wilhelm Rodriguez Ramirez Winston Arcadios Benny Armel Arthur Bernhard Osborne Bobby with something else. I forgot what it was, but back then it was very obvious. It was something we daily saw in the daycare. Anyway, let's forget about that. Every day I went to the daycare, which they called the Little Angels Daycare. Sometimes I was allowed to take Bob with me, but that was only on special occasions. I never understood why. Maybe because they wanted me to grow up very quickly. Actually, guys, I have a secret to tell you. I still have Bulgarius Wilhelm Rodriguez Ramirez Winston Arcadios Benny Armel Arthur Bernhard Osborne Bobby at home. I hid him in my room. I never told anyone because I thought everyone would laugh at me. So when I was in daycare, I usually was all alone because Bob was not with me. I didn't get to bring him, but luckily I wasn't the only one. My good friend back in the day, he was called James. He also had a teddy bear. His name was, if I am not mistaken, because it is a hard name to spell, Nolan. Well, it was pretty hard to spell when I was younger, of course, because I didn't know how to write yet. I did not learn a lot in daycare, but what I did learn was reading. I learned how to read. There is a huge library in Little Angels Daycare, and every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, me and James went to the library and read books. A lot of them. The first few months we read books with almost over 300 pages. Those were very difficult books because they were darn heavy. They did not have any words in them, though. It was a book with pictures. After those books, we started to read books like The Big Friendly Giant. That was one of my favorites back in the day. Maybe you guys can remember that one as well? Sometimes when James and I brought Bob and Nolan with us, we read for them. They always liked it. Nowadays, that is stupid to say because teddy bears can't speak, but let me just talk about my days as a child. Once I read a book which I will never forget anymore. I told James to read it and he loved it as well. I can tell you a little bit about it. The book was called The Tree That Never Lived. Long ago, in a dense forest, there were thousands of tall and beautiful trees. They were happy but proud of themselves. Among them there also an ugly tree whose branches were badly twisted. Its roots had uneven curves. All the trees made fun of that ugly tree. "How are you, hunchback?" The other trees always shouted, and their laughter made the ugly tree feel sad. But he never raised a voice against them. The ugly tree thought, "I wish I were as beautiful as the other trees. Why did God do this to me? Neither can I provide shade to the travelers, not can the birds make their nests on me. Nobody needs me." One day, a woodcutter came to the forest. He took a look at the trees and said, "These trees are lovely. I must cut them." As soon as he picked up his axe, the trees became frightened. Chop, chop, chop went the woodcutter's axe, and one by one the trees started to fall. "None of us is going to be spared," screamed one of the beautiful trees. Soon that tree too was brought to ground by the woodcutter's axe. By now, the woodcutter had come near to the ugly tree. He had just raised his axe when suddenly he noticed how crooked the ugly tree was. This crooked tree seems to be useless for me. I cannot make long straight logs of this ugly tree," he thought, and he moved towards another beautiful tree. The ugly tree heaved a huge sigh of relief. He realized that by making him ugly, God had actually given him a boon. From that day the ugly tree never complained. He was happy with his crooked branches. He never forgot how he was spared from the woodcutter's axe, only because he was crooked and ugly. Funny how a book can be so well written that even me, SubZeroExtabyte Jr. can understand it. For some of the babies, who could not read, was a so-called read corner. They could sit there and listen to one baby who would read stories over and over again. Sometimes he or she told the same story twice a day, but it was always entertaining. Sometimes I went there just to listen to the stories because I liked the stories, but what I liked the most was all the people around me. But there was one particular story which gave me a great idea. In a huge pond, There lived much fish. They were arrogant and never listened to anyone. In this pond, there also lived a kind-hearted crocodile. He advised the fish, "It does not pay to be arrogant and overconfident. It could be your downfall." But the fish never listened to him. "There is that crocodile, advising us again," they would say. One afternoon, the crocodile was resting beside a stone near the pond, when two fishermen stopped there to drink water. The fishermen noticed that the pond had much fish. "Look, this pond is full of fish. Let's come here tomorrow with our fishing net," said one of them. "I am surprised we have not seen this place before," exclaimed the other. The crocodile heard all this. When the fisherman left, he slowly slipped into the pond and went straight to the fish. "You all had better leave this pond before dawn. Early morning those two fishermen are going to come to this pond with their net," warned the crocodile. But the fish just laughed and said, "There have been many fishermen who have tried to catch us. These two are not going to catch us either. Do not you worry about us, Mr. Crocodile," they said in a mocking voice. The next morning, the fishermen came and threw their net in the pond. The nets were big and strong. Very soon all the fish were caught. "If only we had listened to Mr. Crocodile. He had only wanted to help. For our arrogance we have to pay with our lives," said the fish. The fishermen took the foolish fish to the market and sold them for a good profit. And that story taught me to be smart. Sometimes we, the babies, had to give classes to our fellow friends. We had to talk about the adventures we had the other day, and I got through many adventures together with Bob, and I think that is one of the reasons why I still have so many adventures. But now I don't go through them with Bob. Now I do them with you guys. Maybe someday, I will encounter a friend from the daycare and we can talk about all the good thing that we did back then. Oh, and we did some bad things as well. Sometimes we wiped the whiteboard clean so the teacher had to write everything all over again, and most of the time he forgot what he wrote down. And there were funny times because then we had no class and we went on to play hangman with the teacher. You guys know that game, right? You have to think of a word and then everyone has to guess the word. And for every wrong letter they say, they get one piece of the guillotine until the entire thing is drawn or someone has guessed the name. I was so good in the game. No one has ever guessed one of my words. Once I came up with the best word in the world. Do you want to know what I said? Well, the word that I came up with was supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I hope I pronounced it good, but I am completely honest with you. This is an actual word, but I do have to look it up to know what it means. I am not going to talk about the dining area, by the way, because there is so much to talk about. There was this one room in particular which was really awesome. In that room, there were like 15 clocks. I am not really sure anymore, but every single one of them showed a different time zone. So if I wanted to see what time it was in Europe, I could go to that room and take a look in there. That was really cool because sometimes my parents went on holiday, and they went somewhere where the time zone was a big difference in time. So I sat there with Bob because I was allowed to bring him with me because my parents were gone, and I watched the difference between times. When it was 9 p.m. here where I was, then it was like 9 a.m. where my parents were, for example. Those were the times when I really missed my parents, but I was happy to have Bob with me, of course. Anyway, there are even more rooms in the daycare. For example, we had a math room and an English room where they taught us to speak English. The worst room was math room. I hated it because I was not good at it at all. Every day we had to practice our math skills and once a week we had a test. I failed the test almost every week until James gave me some tips on how to do the math. Guys, the coolest part of this daycare is the campfire spot. That was the place where we eat marshmallows and told scary stories. I am mostly the one who told the funny stories. Everybody always laughs at my stories, which always makes my day, of course. But the scary stories were always the good ones. Listen up, guys. Once in a little village not that far from here, there was a problem. Animals had started dying off, one by one. In the morning their owners would see them lying outside with 10 holes in their chest. The people thought it was the work of their neighboring town. Then, one night a man by the name of Fred was closing his store for the night. It was very late, and he was anxious to get home to his family. He shut off all the lights, then closed the door with a satisfying click. As he turned around to go to his car, he saw a dark shape in the distance. He stood still trying to make out what it was. As it got closer, Fred turned to go. It was the last move he ever made. The next day they found him with 10 holes in his chest. This made the town quite worried. They were scared of more people getting killed. So, one night two brave brothers, John and Jacob, went out to get rid of the problem. They each took knives and walkie-talkies. They said goodbye to their father and kissed their grandmother on the way out. The two boys decided to split up. One would go to the site of the murder, and the other would wander the streets. If one was attacked, they could use their walkie-talkie to contact the other. So they set off, keeping a close eye on the shadows. Nothing seemed to be happening. It was a calm night, and it seemed like they would get home safely. But then suddenly John heard a crackling in the bushes behind him. He tried to call his brother, but it was too late. The figure leaped out of the bushes and tackled him, gouging his chest with its nails. Luckily Jacob heard the commotion and rushed to help him. He leaped through the air and cut off the creature's right hand. The creature screamed and ran. Jacob took John to the hospital, and they bandaged him home. The doctors called them heroes, and finally, they got home at 6 that morning. Only their grandmother was up, so they said good morning, then went back to bed. Neither of them noticed she was missing her hand. That was one of the stories which I remembered because Chad told me that one. He was the one who, somehow always comes up with these amazing stories and tells them to us. Anyway guys, now because it is winter, we can use the ice skating track. In the summer they change the top and below the ice skating track lays a swimming pool. Pretty cool, huh? Also, every month there is a concert here. We always have these concerts outside. This time we have a special concert. It is the annual winter concert and a really famous band is coming. I believe it is the Winter Band. Really famous in this town guys. I am not lying. What if I told you that this place is similar to Madison Square Garden in New York? Oh, and I really need to show you guys something else. We have a music room ourselves. We also have an art room, but I am not so very good in art. My drawings were always the same. Everyone always said that my drawings look like a penguin trying to run in the sand but can't because he keeps falling over. But I do have talent in music guys. Maybe you don't know that yet, but I always played the triangle. My teacher chose me specifically to play the triangle. The triangle is one of the most difficult instruments to play guys because, on a triangle instrument, one of the angles is left open, with the ends of the bar not quite touching. This causes the instrument to be of indeterminate or not settled or decided pitch. It is either suspended from one of the other corners by a piece of, most commonly, fishing line, leaving it free to vibrate, or hooked over the hand. It is usually struck with a metal beater, giving a high-pitched, ringing tone. I knew everything about the triangle guys. Unfortunately, I don't know how to play anymore. One sad story about my triangle guys. When we were playing in the music room, one of the older babies came up to me and thought it was funny to pretend the triangle was an earring. So he ran away with my triangle and I followed him. Maybe you noticed all the trash cans here in our daycare. Well, he threw my triangle in one of the trash cans. I never found it back because there were so many trash cans and I didn't know which one to check. We also have an infirmary. I once had to go there, but that was not because of myself, it was because of Tessa. Tessa was about 18 months old and into everything. Changing the kitchen pots and pans is her specialty, closely followed by fiddling with the scales in my consulting room. One morning her mother urgently brought her into the surgery. Tessa had not eaten any breakfast and did not want a drink. She was pale, drowsy and not interested in what was going on around her. She also looked a bit floppy and limp. On examination, she had a mild fever but nothing else to go on. Her chest was clear and her breathing was normal. Her throat and ears were okay and her abdomen was relaxed and not tender. I was not sure what was wrong with Tessa, but it was obvious that she was very ill and needed immediate investigation. I wondered whether she might have had the infection of some sort. A urinary tract infection was another possibility. I showed you guys that this daycare is awesome and you will learn many amazing things in there. You can even learn how to transfer an ice skating track into a swimming pool. How cool is that? I once climbed the top of the daycare guys. Maybe I can do that one more time. That was my very first actual adventure because it was dangerous and one of the silliest things I have ever done in my life because I didn't even do it for myself. I did it because Nolan, James Bear, was thrown there by some annoying bully. I hated that guy ever since, but you can imagine that of course. I tried to take serious action against these bullies, but as a baby, my parents never believed me, and the worst problem was that I couldn't even pronounce bully correct. That was why I played so much hangman. Get it? Hangman? Hanging on the edge of the school. Ha ha ha, I can be so hilarious. I hope you guys have a great day and thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.